All right, so get ready, because today we are going deep into the mind of Terence McKenna.
Oh, yeah.
Our listeners have sent in a whole bunch of his lectures and writings.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously something about this guy is really fascinating to them.
Right.
But, like, what is it about Terence McKenna that, makes him so
Compelling.
enduringly relevant even?
Yeah, I mean, I think what's so fascinating about McKenna is really just the sheer range. He wasn't like just a psychedelic advocate. He was somebody who really connected all these dots between like shamanism and botany and technology.
Yeah.
I mean, even the end of history.
Right.
But to like really understand him, I think we have to kind of start with his foundation.
Okay.
Which was this like really deep skepticism of belief systems.
So unpack that a little bit for me. Like, what did he have against believing in things?
I think that McKenna really saw ideology.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, any ideology as like a trap.
Yeah.
And, his famous line, like, ideology kills.
Right.
It is not a childish game.
Yeah.
That wasn't just him being provocative.
Right.
That was really like the core of his thinking.
Okay.
And he would point to things like the Heaven's Gate tragedy, where people committed suicide.
Right.
Because they believed there was a spaceship following a comet.
Oh, wow.
And they thought that they were going to reach it.
Yeah, that's pretty intense.
Yeah. And so
was that just kind of like an extreme example for him?
I think that that's exactly it. Like McKenna's brilliance was in using these like extreme examples to make us examine the everyday.
I see.
He would say that people mocked Heaven's Gate.
Right.
While holding what he thought were equally absurd religious beliefs.
I see.
And so it made you kind of question like, how much of what I think is true is just what I've been told?
That's a great point.
Yeah.
And this is where psychedelics kind of enter the picture for him.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
For McKenna, psychedelics weren't just about like getting high. They were about cracking open those rigid belief systems and exploring consciousness firsthand.
Yeah.
He even argued that they were crucial in human evolution.
Really?
His stone ape theory proposed that early humans' use of psilocybin mushrooms played like a key role in developing language and culture.
So eating magic mushrooms kick-started our ability to like think and communicate.
It sounds kind of crazy, right?
It's a pretty wild idea.
But he backed it up with research on the effects of psilocybin on the brain.
Okay.
Specifically, like the parts that deal with language processing.
Interesting.
He saw language as like a constantly evolving technology. Something that psychedelics continue to push forward.
Still today.
Yeah.
So it's not just like the thing of the past.
Right.
And this is where it gets really interesting. I think McKenna, he didn't just theorize about this stuff. Right. He actually experimented.
Yeah.
He was fascinated by all these different psychoactive plants.
Yeah.
Especially Salvia divinorum.
Oh, salvia.
What a plant!
A powerful psychedelic mint.
Yeah.
That really messed with drug laws.
How so?
Because its active compound wasn't really like anything else that was being outlawed at the time. And so it really highlighted for McKenna how arbitrary these drug laws were.
Interesting.
That they couldn't keep up with nature's vast pharmacy.
Right. It's like he was saying you can't outlaw consciousness exploration.
Yeah, exactly.
And speaking of exploration, he often talked about humans as like a plant-animal symbiotic species.
Yeah.
What did he mean by that?
I think it was more than just using plants for food or medicine.
Okay.
McKenna really saw this deeper connection, almost like a co-evolution, where plants provided not just sustenance, but also spiritual insight.
I see.
Altered states that like really shaped who we are as humans.
So were psychedelics like the original bridge to this ancient partnership?
It's a good question.
Offering access to some like deeper level of real information?
Yeah.
Whoa. Okay, so we've gone from doubting beliefs to tripping our way through history with plants as partners.
Yeah.
Where does McKenna take us next?
Hold on tight, because we're about to ride the time wave.
The time wave?
One of McKenna's most controversial ideas, where he argued that history is not random, but is actually pulled forward by this force of increasing novelty that culminates in a point of radical transformation.
Wait, didn't he predict that that transformation would happen in 2012?
He did.
Because that was like a while ago.
Yeah, he based it on this really complex mathematical model that he derived from the this ancient Chinese divination text.
Wow.
Now, obviously, 2012 came and went, but I think that the time wave is less about literal dates and more about this bigger question. What if history does have a direction, a trajectory pulling us towards greater complexity?
Think about the implications of that. Mind-blowing, right?
Yeah.
And to understand this time wave, we kind of need to talk about something called morphogenetic fields.
Yeah, okay.
An idea developed by the biologist Rupert Sheldrake.
Right.
So this is where McKenna gets really out there.
Yeah.
You know, he used Sheldrake's ideas to explain how patterns kind of repeat throughout history. Almost like there's this invisible blueprint influencing everything.
Yeah.
And he said, things happen the way they happen because that's how they happened before.
Right.
So are we just repeating the past?
I think it's deeper than that.
Okay.
You know, McKenna saw these morphogenetic fields as like a kind of memory, not just of the past, but also influencing the present and future.
Okay.
And here's the kicker.
Yeah.
He believed that psychedelics allowed us to perceive these fields directly.
Oh, wow.
To experience time in this nonlinear way.
So like tapping into the collective memory of everything?
It's a trip, right?
That's intense.
Yeah.
So before we get too far out there, let's shift gears a bit.
Right.
McKenna also had a lot to say about technology, right?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
He saw technology as this, like, double-edged sword.
Interesting.
Capable of both liberation and dystopia.
Yeah, I feel like that's a theme that resonates even more strongly today.
No, absolutely.
You know, we're surrounded by tech.
Yeah.
But are we using it to evolve, or are we just using it to, like, distract ourselves?
That's the question.
And hey, if you are enjoying this deep dive into the mind of Terence McKenna, hit that like button and subscribe to the channel.
Definitely.
So you don't miss the rest of this mind-bending journey.
Yeah, we'll be right back with more after a quick word from our sponsors.
Okay, sounds good.
And don't forget, you can support the show and snag some cool merch by visiting CarbonatedThoughts.store.
All right, we'll be right back.
McKenna was particularly interested in cyberspace.
Right, which was just kind of emerging in his time.
Totally. And he saw it as like this male version of this female realm of interconnectedness that he believed you could access through psychedelics.
So instead of like ingesting a plant, we're building these digital spaces to kind of explore similar territory.
Exactly. But McKenna was also wary.
Okay.
You know, he saw the potential for technology to become a tool for control, for eroding individual freedoms, even manipulating consciousness itself.
It's like something we grapple with even more acutely today.
Oh, absolutely.
With, you know,
social media,
algorithms and AI shaping our perceptions.
Totally.
It's kind of scary.
It is.
It's like he was warning us to be mindful of the tools that we create to make sure that they're serving us and not the other way around.
Exactly.
Which kind of brings us back to that new vision that he kept talking about.
Yeah, what did he actually mean by that?
What did he actually mean by a new vision?
This is where I think McKenna's optimism really shines through.
Okay.
You know, he saw humanity kind of entering this period of racial maturity. Where we had to shed these outdated beliefs. And embrace this more expansive, interconnected worldview.
Okay, so it wasn't just about individual growth. But like a collective shift in consciousness to navigate all these challenges of the 21st century.
Totally.
Okay, but what did that look like practically? Like, what would a society with this new vision actually do differently?
Well, I don't think McKenna laid out like a specific blueprint.
Okay.
But he gave us principles.
Okay, like what?
You know, he talked about the importance of ecological awareness, recognizing our interconnectedness with nature, moving beyond the pursuit of material wealth.
Okay.
And towards a more sustainable way of life.
So like living in harmony with nature.
Yeah, and he believed that we had the potential to create a world where technology was used.
To enhance our connection to nature. Not dominate it.
Which is kind of the opposite of what's happening right now.
It's a pretty radical departure.
Yeah, it is. But honestly, it's kind of refreshing. To hear somebody talk about a positive future. Especially somebody as like intellectually rigorous as McKenna was.
Yeah, he wasn't just a doom and gloom prophet. He genuinely believed in the power of human ingenuity and creativity to solve problems and create a better world.
You know, for all his talk about skepticism and challenging beliefs.
Yeah.
McKenna also had some pretty out there ideas of his own.
He did.
Like those elf chemists.
Oh, yes, the elf chemists.
That he encountered during his psychedelic journeys.
Yeah, this is where McKenna's thinking can get a little tricky.
A little out there.
He described these beings as like representatives of a higher intelligence.
Okay.
Maybe even the architects of consciousness itself.
Yeah. Now, whether you interpret that literally or metaphorically is up to you.
I mean, it sounds pretty wild.
It does.
But I get the sense that for McKenna, it wasn't just about like the literal truth of these encounters, but like what they represented.
Yeah.
The possibility of connecting to something beyond our everyday understanding.
Right.
Tapping into some source of wisdom and creativity that exists outside ourselves.
Exactly.
Okay, I can see that.
And that's what makes McKenna so compelling.
Yeah.
You know, he wasn't afraid to push boundaries.
Right.
To explore the edges of human experience and to share what he found. Yeah. With honesty and humor.
He made you question your assumptions. Yeah. Even his own. And encouraged you to kind of embark on your own journey of exploration.
It's like he was saying, don't take my word for it.
Yeah.
Go find out for yourself.
Which is kind of the whole point of this deep dive, right?
Yeah.
To unpack these ideas, grapple with their complexity.
Right.
And see what resonates with you.
Exactly.
As an individual.
And McKenna wasn't interested in dogma.
Right.
Or blind faith.
Yeah.
He wanted to spark curiosity, ignite the imagination, and empower individuals to become their own authorities on the nature of reality.
And honestly, in a world that's increasingly complex and confusing, that's a pretty powerful message.
It is.
You know, it's not about finding like easy answers.
Right.
It's about cultivating the tools and the mindset to navigate the unknown. With courage and a sense of wonder.
And don't forget, exploring these ideas doesn't have to be a solitary pursuit.
Right.
Sharing what you're learning. Discussing it with friends. Even debating different interpretations. Can enrich the experience and lead to new insights.
Absolutely. And if you're finding this deep dive stimulating those brain cells, be sure to hit that like button. And subscribe to the channel for more thought-provoking content.
And if you're feeling inspired to support the show and snag some cool merch, head over to CarbonatedThoughts.store.
Now, back to McKenna.
Okay.
We've covered a lot of ground.
Yeah.
From his skepticism of belief systems to his explorations of psychedelics.
Yeah.
From his warnings about technology.
Right.
To his vision for a more interconnected future. But what does it all add up to?
Yeah.
What's the core message that, like, emerges from all of this?
I think at the heart of McKenna's work is this deep and unwavering belief in the power of human consciousness.
Okay.
He saw consciousness as like the fundamental force shaping reality.
Interesting.
This vast and untapped potential that we're only beginning to understand.
All right, we are back for the final part of our deep dive into the mind of Terence McKenna.
Yes.
We've talked about his, like, radical ideas, his critiques of conventional thinking, his wild theories about history and consciousness. But now I'm kind of curious, what does this all mean for us here and now?
Right.
How do we take these ideas and actually apply them to our lives?
That's the million-dollar question.
Right.
McKenna wasn't big on giving like step-by-step instructions. Right. You know, he saw life as like this ongoing experiment, this process of exploration and discovery.
Right.
But he did offer some clues, some guiding principles for navigating this complex and ever-changing world.
So what are some of those principles? Give us something to chew on, something we can actually take away from this deep dive.
Well, first and foremost, I think McKenna would encourage us to cultivate a healthy skepticism.
Okay.
Not like a cynical, dismissive skepticism.
Right.
But a curious, questioning skepticism.
Okay.
Don't just accept things at face value.
Right.
You know, dig deeper, ask questions, challenge your own assumptions.
Yeah.
Be willing to change your mind when presented with new evidence.
It kind of resonates with his whole ideology kills thing, right?
Exactly.
It's about recognizing that even our most cherished beliefs might be limiting our understanding.
Yeah.
Preventing us from seeing the world in new and expansive ways.
And this skepticism applies not just to like external sources of information, but also to our own internal narratives.
Right.
You know, the stories we tell ourselves about who we are, what's possible.
So it's about questioning those like limiting beliefs that hold us back.
Yes.
Those voices in our heads that say, I can't do this.
Totally.
Or that's not for me.
Exactly. McKenna believed that we have far more potential than we realize.
Okay.
And that one of the greatest obstacles to personal growth is our own self-doubt and limiting beliefs.
It's easy to get stuck in those.
He encouraged us to step outside of our comfort zones.
Right.
To experiment, to take risks,
Yeah.
and to trust in the process of unfolding.
He often talked about following your own weirdness, embracing your unique individuality,
Right.
and pursuing your passions, however strange or unconventional they might seem.
He saw conformity and blind obedience as like a form of spiritual death.
Wow.
A suppression of the creative spark that resides within each of us.
And that connects to his emphasis on imagination,
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
He believed that imagination wasn't just this frivolous pastime,
Right.
but like a powerful tool for shaping reality.
He saw imagination as the engine of evolution.
Wow.
The driving force behind all human progress and creativity.
Okay.
And he encouraged us to cultivate our imaginations, to dream big,
Yeah.
to envision the world that we want to live in, and to use our creativity to make those dreams a reality.
I love that it's not about just sitting around passively consuming other people's ideas.
Right.
It's about actively participating
Yeah.
in the creation of our own reality.
Exactly, and that requires courage.
Yeah.
You know, a willingness to step outside of the status quo,
Right.
to challenge conventional thinking, and to embrace the unknown with a sense of adventure and excitement.
Which is a lot easier said than done.
It is.
You know, it's scary to put yourself out there,
Yeah.
to risk failure, to go against the grain.
But, as McKenna would say, the alternative is far scarier.
What's that?
A life of conformity,
Right.
mediocrity,
Yeah.
and unfulfilled potential.
Yeah, you don't want to live with that.
He believed that a life worth living
Yeah.
was one that embraced challenge,
Okay.
growth,
Mhm.
and the constant pursuit of something greater than ourselves.
And that pursuit might look different for everyone.
Right.
You know, it might involve exploring altered states of consciousness,
Yeah.
delving into ancient wisdom traditions,
Mm-hmm.
pushing the boundaries of science and technology,
Right.
or simply finding ways to live more consciously and sustainably in our everyday lives.
There's no one-size-fits-all approach. The key is to be engaged,
Okay.
to be curious,
Yeah.
to be willing to experiment, and to
Yeah.
trust in the process of unfolding.
McKenna often talked about the importance of becoming your own ancestor,
Yes.
creating a legacy that you'd be proud to pass on to future generations.
He challenged us to think beyond our own immediate needs and desires,
Okay.
to consider the long-term consequences of our actions,
Yeah.
and to contribute to the creation of a world that was more just sustainable and fulfilling for all beings.
That's a powerful message, and one that I think is particularly relevant in today's world.
Absolutely.
You know, we're facing unprecedented challenges,
Yeah.
but we also have unprecedented opportunities to create a better future.
And as McKenna would say, the future is not something that happens to us.
Right.
It's something that we create.
We have the power.
We have the power to choose the world we want to live in.
Yeah.
And it all starts with our individual choices and actions.
So if there's one thing that we take away from this deep dive into the mind of Terence McKenna,
Yeah.
it's that we have the power to shape our own reality, to choose our own path,
Mm-hmm.
and to contribute to the creation of a better future.
It's about embracing curiosity,
Yeah.
challenging assumptions,
Mm-hmm.
cultivating our imaginations,
Right.
and taking heroic responsibility for our lives and our world.
It's about becoming our own ancestors, leaving a legacy that inspires future generations to dream big,
Yes.
to think differently, and to create a world that honors the interconnectedness of all life.
Beautiful.
And remember, this is just the beginning of the journey.
Yeah,
There's a whole universe of ideas out there waiting to be explored.
absolutely.
Don't be afraid to dive in, to ask questions, to challenge yourself, and to discover your own unique path.
Well said.
If this deep dive into the mind of Terence McKenna has resonated with you, we encourage you to continue exploring his work.
Yes.
You can find a wealth of resources at doxy.org in Gehenna.
You'll find lectures, essays, interviews, and more.
It's a great resource for anyone who wants to continue exploring the ideas we've been discussing today.
And if you enjoyed this episode, please consider liking, subscribing, and sharing it with your friends. It helps us reach a wider audience and continue exploring these fascinating ideas.
And don't forget to check out CarbonatedThoughts.store for some awesome merch that will help support the show and keep those thought-provoking conversations going.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
Until next time.
Keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep evolving.